Hello, and welcome to TCU. My name is Lauren Kaiser. I'm the coordinator of audio and video production and a part of the IT support team. Over the next few minutes, I'll be showing you many of the technology-related resources you now have access to, and also making sure you know how to get help with your technology. Before we dive in, I want to make sure you know about a great new resource we have. We know you're receiving a lot of information during the onboarding process, and it may be difficult to remember all of the topics we'll talk about today. So we've put together a guide that you can refer back to at any time. To access the guide, just visit it.tcu.edu/new-employees and flip through the pages anytime you need a refresher or have a question. As a faculty member, the technology you're probably most interested in is what's in your classroom. One of the key items in your classroom will likely be a Crestron touch panel that you'll use to interact with other pieces of technology in the room, such as the projector. There is some variation across campus when it comes to classroom technology. About 40% of classrooms will have a Crestron touch panel similar to what you'll see in this video, but that percentage is constantly growing as we strive for more standardization across campus. So let's take a look at how you'll use the touch panel. When you first walk into a classroom, the screen of the Crestron touch panel may be black. Simply touch the screen to wake it up. Once the Crestron touch panel is awake, follow the on-screen instructions and touch the screen to begin. Now that you've touched the control panel, you'll be able to select one of the available sources to display on the screen. Pressing a source icon will bring the system online, and that source will be displayed on your projector or TV. Let's start with the computer. Once the projector or TV come online, you should see the classroom computer image on the screen. Keep in mind that it takes a little time for the system to come online, so be patient as the TV and/or projector turn on. Pressing the computer icon brings up a new page instructing you to enter your TCU username and password to log into the computer. If you are using a wireless keyboard, make sure that it is turned on before attempting to log in. Now that the computer source is online, let's check out the other source options. Pressing the second input source will bring up the Blu-ray player. Give the system a few seconds to switch between inputs, and the Blu-ray menu screen should come up on the TV or projector. You will notice that the panel now displays controls that you can use to use the Blu-ray player. You can play, pause, and stop video here, as well as control the unit as if the remote was in your hands. Don't forget that if the unit doesn't come online when this source is selected, you can hit the power button on the panel to tell it to turn on. Let's take a look at the next source option. Pressing the third input source will bring up the AirMedia device. AirMedia is a device that allows you to wirelessly broadcast your laptop or mobile device up to the screen without having to use any cables. You can download the software needed to use AirMedia at www.tcu.edu/airmedia. Another great benefit of AirMedia is that students can use it too. AirMedia allows students to quickly share their screens, making student contribution and collaboration easy. Once on this page, you will see the IP address and the access code that you would enter into the software on your computer or mobile device to begin sharing your screen on the TV or projector. Keep in mind that while AirMedia is a fantastic tool that allows you to teach from anywhere in the room, we still recommend that when you play videos or movies that you use the classroom computer or the laptop input to get the best possible image quality. Let's take a look at our other source options. The fourth input source is for your laptop. This input source is used when you want to plug your laptop device into the presentation system. Keep in mind that we put HDMI connections in these rooms to connect to your laptop. It is important that you have the appropriate adapter to connect to an HDMI cable in order for this to work. Once connected, you will sometimes have to visit the control panel or system preferences on your computer in order to tell your machine to display your screen as a mirrored image. Let's check out the last source on the list, which will pull up the document camera. Keep in mind that if your room is equipped with a document camera, that it will normally be off to the side on a rolling cart. You will need to plug the device into the document camera port on the front of the rack and into power. The controls for the document camera are located on the device, but if you happen to have a ceiling-mounted camera, the control panel will give you icons that will allow you to zoom and/or focus the image. Now that we have checked out all of the sources, let's click the home icon and go back to the main page. On the home screen, you can manage the sound of your input source by pressing the up or down volume buttons. You can use the mute button to mute the sound in the room. Just keep in mind that it will only mute the sound and not the image on the screen. Now that we have checked out all of the sources, let's look at the advanced options that you may have in the Settings menu. Press the gear icon to get into the Settings menu. Every room is equipped a little differently, so your Settings menu may have fewer options based on what is available in that room. In this case, the room has display equipment, a camera, and an assisted listening microphone system. Let's take a look at the display controls. This is the menu that will pop up if you have a single projector or TV in the room. You can manually turn the display on or off and mute the image from this page. Muting the image will bring up a big red bar across the top of the screen to remind you that your display image has been muted. This option will help to give you some privacy if you need to set up a presentation on the computer but don't want the class to see what you are doing. If you happen to have more than one projector or TV in your classroom, this is the menu that will come up instead. You can manually turn off displays from this menu as well as change the source that you want to display. This will come in handy if you want to display two different sources on displays at the same time. In this case, we can select Computer for Projector 1 and then select Air Media for Projector 2. Once selected, the different sources will appear on each of the selected displays. Keep in mind that when you originally turn on the equipment, it will always mirror the same source on both displays. This is the menu that you would use to have the system display more than one source if you have multiple displays in the room. Now let's go back to the settings and look at the other options. From here, let's take a look at the camera controls. Keep in mind that only certain rooms are equipped with cameras, so you may not see this menu if you teach in a space that isn't equipped with such a unit. This menu will let you take control of the camera to zoom or rotate the device to get the perfect image. These devices are wired to your computer, so generally this menu is only used to configure or set up the camera while you use the classroom computer to manage the software needed to connect to your video conference or recording solution. If you happen to have two cameras in the room, you can select the appropriate camera by pressing the corresponding device on the right-hand side of the screen. Now let's go back to the settings and look at the other options. From here, let's take a look at the volume levels. Keep in mind that rooms of 50 or more are equipped with assisted listening systems or microphone systems, so you will only see this in larger classrooms. From here, you can mute or adjust the specific sound on your wireless mics or on the assisted listening system. Don't forget that the volume for the video source on the display is controlled from the slider at the bottom of the screen. That covers most of the advanced settings that you will use, so let's close this out and go back to the home screen. The last and most important button left to cover is the power button. Pressing this button will bring up a menu that will ask you if you would like to turn the system off. Pressing yes will turn off the projector and display and reset the default source back to the computer. If you turn the system off, give it about 15 to 20 seconds before turning it back on again in order to allow the entire system to power down properly. Before leaving the classroom, be sure to shut down the display equipment, log out of the computer, take your equipment with you, and move the document camera back.
So that's how the Crestron touch panel works. But what do you do if something isn't working in the classroom and you need immediate assistance? Don't worry, we have an entire team just for that, and generally a technician is able to get to your classroom within 5 to 10 minutes if you're needing help right away. In each classroom, you'll notice a sticker that looks like this. If you need help with any of the technology in your classroom, please give our instructional support team a call at 817-257-7121. We'll be talking more about the instructional support team, how to get support, and other services they offer a little later on. Now, many of you may be teaching a little differently right now. Maybe you're teaching your class on campus, but all or some of your students are virtual, and you'll need to use Zoom in your classroom. Within the last year, we have added cameras and microphones to many rooms across campus, which means you can simply use the teaching station in your room to access Zoom and use the classroom cameras and microphones. We know everyone will have different needs when it comes to using this technology, so we won't dive too deep in this video, but we do have an entire website dedicated to virtual learning, which includes a recording of a past training session. So if this is something you're interested in, please visit it.tcu.edu/virtualclassroom. While you're there, take a look around the site. You can find lots of helpful resources such as virtual classroom tours, how to use Air Media, and much more. Now that we've talked about classroom technology that's specific to being a faculty member, let's switch gears and talk about other technology items that every TCU employee should know about. During the rest of this presentation, we'll be talking about different technology pieces you'll be likely to use or encounter, such as passwords and authentication, TCU-owned devices such as computers, network access, phones and voicemail, shares and file storage, printing and copying, and last, but certainly not least, benefits and perks. The first thing we're going to talk about is accounts, passwords, and authentication. Chances are you've already created an account, meaning you've set up your TCU username, email, and password. But if not, you can do so easily by visiting the website newuser.tcu.edu, as long as you've received your TCU ID number. You'll also be asked to provide some other information, such as your date of birth. After you create your account, please allow about 15 minutes before everything is processed and propagated in the system. Certain items you may not be granted access to automatically, and you may need to ask your department to request access for you. Once you've created your account, you will be required to change your password every 120 days. You will start receiving notifications 30 days before your password expires when you log into a machine, and you'll also receive email notices starting 14 days before your password expires, but you can change your password at any point in time. The notifications will stop once you change your password, which you can do by visiting password.tcu.edu. You can also visit the site if you've forgotten your password and need to change it, or if you've been locked out of your account. The IT Help Desk cannot reset your password for you, and we will walk you through the same steps you would follow by visiting password.tcu.edu. We also use two systems for two-factor or multi-factor authentication. These systems are similar to what you may experience when doing any sort of mobile banking, where you are sent a verification code to your cell phone and you have to enter the code in order to log in, as an additional layer of security and authentication. When you are off campus and you attempt to access secure information from TCU, such as logging into MyTCU or TCU Online, you'll be required to authenticate. You'll need to be sure you're enrolled in Okta MFA so that you can access anything you might need while off campus. To enroll, visit it.tcu.edu/Okta. There's also an instructional video about this process located on that website. One thing that's really important to point out is that you'll be given different options for how you'd like to authenticate, such as receiving a push notification, rolling code via the Okta Verify app, which does not require an internet connection, and an SMS option. It is key that you enroll for multiple options. Let's say you only enrolled for push notifications, where a notification simply pops up on your phone. Well, if you were to get a new phone, you'd want to make sure that you have another way to authenticate, say by receiving an SMS text message. I personally have mine set up so that I can use any of the options, and that's what I'd recommend doing so that you're never without access to anything you need. The next item we'll talk about is TCU-owned computers and equipment. On campus, we have both Macs and PCs. Our replacement cycle is generally every 4 years, meaning that if you are assigned a TCU computer, your primary machine will likely be replaced every 4 years. It is very important to check with your department to make sure that you are listed as the owner of your devices. If you need to be made the admin of a machine, the IT Help Desk can't do that unless you are listed as the owner, or they have received permission from the person who is listed as the owner. It's also important to note that not everyone is assigned a computer. Your department may have other solutions in place, such as shared devices or loaners, so be sure to check with them if you are unsure about which computer you are supposed to use. Something else that is highly important is that you log into your computer while plugged into a wired internet connection on campus before taking a computer off campus. What that does is caches your credentials on your machine and then allows you to log in using those credentials when you are off campus in the future. The last piece regarding equipment has to do with personal devices. We do allow personal devices on the network, which we'll talk about here shortly. When it comes to personal devices, we are able to provide limited support. However, there are certain services that we cannot render to personal devices, such as reimaging or hardware repair, since the primary area of support is for TCU-owned equipment. So now let's take a look at network access. As mentioned before, you are able to put your personal devices on the network. The network for your personal devices is going to give you internet access, but you won't have access to all of our secured resources like you would on a TCU-owned device. You can connect your personal devices to Eduroam, and you can find instructions for connecting at it.tcu.edu/Eduroam. One neat thing about Eduroam is that it is used by thousands of campuses, so if you are somewhere else that uses Eduroam, you can actually connect there as well by using your TCU credentials. The Eduroam network is also used for guest accounts. Your guest may already have access if they are coming from somewhere else that uses Eduroam as well, but if not, you can create guest credentials by going to MyTCU and clicking on the technology icon. TCU-owned devices connect to the TCU Faculty Staff Network, or wired ports on campus. These devices will have access to secured resources such as printers and shares. But what about if you are working remotely and need access to some of these secured resources? We do provide a VPN, which will allow you to remote into your device on campus or give you access to windows.tcu.edu. There's lots of information about the VPN and how to get set up for remote work on our Keep Working website, which is it.tcu.edu/keepworking. This website is your guide to all things remote work, and you can learn more about setting up the VPN and a lot of other items you may be interested in to help you transition seamlessly to working remotely. You can also contact the IT Help Desk if you need additional support. So let's get back to the network for just another minute. There are a couple of things we ask you not to do. For example, we ask that you do not bring wireless routers or hotspots because they can interfere with our networks. Please don't use peer-to-peer file sharing, which could have copyrighted material. You should also never share your TCU credentials with anyone. It's extremely important not to share your login credentials with anyone because of how much personal information is accessible with your login, such as paycheck information, student grades, and more. Lastly, be especially aware to not reply to phishing emails, which could compromise the security of your account. To learn more about phishing, you can visit security.tcu.edu/phishing. Next, let's talk about your on-campus phone. Just like with your computer, one of the first things you'll want to do is be sure that you are listed as the owner of the phone and that your display name is correct. We've recently switched to a platform called RingCentral. There are a lot of great things about RingCentral. You're able to install an app on your cell phone or even on your computer so that you can answer your work phone, make a call from your work number, or check your voicemails, even when you aren't physically near the phone at your desk. You can customize your settings and do a variety of things through the web portal by visiting service.ringcentral.com. You can also learn more about your RingCentral phone by watching training sessions by visiting ringcentral.tcu.edu. More likely than not, you're going to need a way to store digital files, and we have a couple of great solutions in place for that. You may be used to storing files on your computer, but have you thought about what might happen to those files or how you would access them if something happened to your computer? It's so important that you are backing up your data and saving your files somewhere they'll be safe, like on a network share or on Box. You'll have access to at least 2 network shares that you'll be able to save files on. Your M drive, also called your home file, is just for you, and it's a great place to save documents that you don't need other people to have access to. You'll also have a common file. These are shared by departments, so it is a great location to save files that others in your department may need. Just remember that the common file can be accessed by others in your department, so don't save anything in this location that you don't intend for others to see. Another option you have for cloud-based file storage is Box. Box allows you to upload and access files from either a web browser, app on a mobile device, or you can install an app called Box Drive on your computer that gives you the ability to manage files directly on your machine. So these are really great storage solutions that will help ensure that your data is safe and that you don't lose anything that may be of importance to you. If you run out of storage space, reach out to the IT Help Desk to request more. Before you start using any of these 3 storage solutions, please review our file storage policies, which detail what types of things are okay to save where, such as public, private, and confidential data, and how to differentiate which is which. This policy can be found through either of the sites listed on this slide. Now, of course, all of your files won't be digital. Sometimes you'll need to print a physical copy, so let's talk about printing and copying. On campus, we have both Xerox and HP devices. The Xerox devices are covered under a contract, so their paper and toner are managed a little bit differently than the HP devices that are managed by the departments. You can get information about how to connect both of these types of printers and the printing server on campus by visiting it.tcu.edu/printing. Keep in mind that you cannot print to any copier or printer. They are restricted to access by your department. In many cases, there may also be copier codes based on department. If you are reporting a problem with a printer, please be sure to include the queue name and tag number located on the front of the device so that IT is able to tell which type of device is having an issue. We will not know what type of device you are referring to if you only provide the room number. It is key that when requesting support, you provide the necessary information for the IT Help Desk to be able to determine if the machine is a Xerox or HP device, because we use 2 different companies that come out to provide hardware support for the printers. The process for ordering supplies also differs between Xerox and HP devices. HP devices are covered by the department, and you'll go to your internal resource to order paper and ink for the HP devices. The Xerox devices are under contract and have a note on the front of the machine that has the instructions for how to order paper and toner. Something to keep an eye out for is software called Papercut that we've just started rolling out across campus. Papercut is software installed on the copiers and print server used to manage billing and access. Once it's been added to all of the printers on campus, you'll be able to scan an RFID tag that's registered to you and be able to print to any printer you walk up to and scan your tag with. It will also eliminate the need for copier codes, plus many other features. To learn more about Papercut, visit it.tcu.edu/papercut. And now onto what is probably the most anticipated topic, benefits and perks. You are able to download Microsoft Office for free on your personal devices by visiting office.tcu.edu. You will need to log in periodically to validate that you are still eligible for access. My personal favorite is that we have access to Adobe Creative Cloud, and you can visit it.tcu.edu/Adobe to learn how to get that set up. Another great site to check out is it.tcu.edu/purchasing. You'll be able to find all sorts of discounts there, including links to the Apple Store for Education and Dell University program. In addition to those websites, IT also does a used computer sale. As we talked about earlier, we have a 4-year replacement cycle. So what happens to the equipment when it's replaced? Well, assuming the equipment is still in great condition, it may become a part of the used computer sale, and announcements come out via email when this event occurs. So definitely a lot of great technology benefits that you have access to just for being a TCU employee. So now let's talk about classroom technology. We have an entire team dedicated to classroom AV support. So if you are in a classroom, conference room, or collaboration space and you need to report an issue, you'll want to contact the Instructional Support team. One way of doing this is to dial extension 7121 for immediate classroom support. We have a technician here from 7:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday and until 5 p.m. on Fridays. These hours may vary during summer sessions. If you have an issue that you'd like to report but isn't urgent, you can report an issue through the Center for Instructional Services website, which is cis.tcu.edu. But again, for immediate assistance, call extension 7121. The Instructional Support team not only provides support, but they also provide training. Don't wait until the first day of class to figure out how the technology in your classroom works. On the same website where you can report a problem, there is also a button for classroom training. So if you'd like to have a member of our Instructional Support team train you on how to use the equipment in your room, be sure to visit cis.tcu.edu. Click the button that says Classroom Training and fill out the online form. There is no direct email address, so again, for immediate support, call the extension 7121 or fill out the self-service form on their website. If you are needing assistance for a technology issue that is not related to classroom technology, you'll want to get in touch with the IT Support Help Desk, and there are several ways to contact them. You can either call them at extension 4357, which conveniently spells out help, or you can use the chat option found at it.tcu.edu, or you can walk up to the Frog Pad located in the library on the first floor. Or you can create a self-service ticket by visiting it.tcu.edu/support. There is also no direct email address for IT support, so be sure to take advantage of one of the many other options. Thank you so much for watching our IT presentation. We've talked about everything from passwords to perks. Again, if you'd like a guide to refer back to, you can find it at it.tcu.edu/new employees. And remember that you can reach us by phone simply by dialing help. Most of all, welcome, and go Frogs!